Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be discussing WandaVision Episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. Full spoilers ahead. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Hit the bell, leave a comment, leave a like, and let's start with the biggest spoiler of them all. We now know who the big bad is, even though there could possibly be another one, but the lead villain as of this moment is, in fact, what Larry has been predicting since, I think, day one. Although not necessarily sure if she was going to be the villain, but that she was in it. Agatha Harkness. Larry, you first, since you've been calling it since the beginning that Agnes was, in fact, going to play this character. What do you think about the reveal and what it means going forward?
Well, yeah, the reveal was pretty great. In fact, I liked it more than I thought I would. In fact, I now got to go back and disagree with what I've said in the past, where I was like, I might tell people to skip the first 3 episodes. I'm like, no, now you have to watch it for that reveal because it was done so well. And the way it goes back through those episodes, even if you don't like the sitcom angle, which I think we all enjoyed, just like that brings it. This episode brings it all together so well that you should watch those first few. So even if you don't like it, I don't know, sit through it, make a sandwich, something like. But it was pretty great. And as far as her being a villain, I am still curious. Like, is she there on behalf of someone? Like, she keeps mentioning Ralph, and we still haven't seen Ralph yet, mind you. Which Ralph could be completely made up, or Ralph could be, as many have speculated, Mephisto. Is Agatha evil, or does she have or does she just have a separate agenda? Is the thing. It's hard to say at this point.
I think Sparky would have something to say about her.
Well, yes, Sparky, yeah.
That was so great.
Well, Agatha, she was in Fantastic Four. Wasn't that like her first comic? Was in Fantastic Four.
She was a big player in the Fantastic Four at one time.
Which to me would make. Now, I mean, she's also done a lot with Wanda. There's a lot of comics of her with Wanda, but I think that we've talked about it in the last couple episodes. The big reveal about Reed or something like that. Mephisto, he was everybody's. At one point in time, like, he was an Avengers bad guy. The Fantastic Four went up again. Like, to me, he would be a perfect next, like, Thanos big bad. But in this, I think that perhaps, she's working with either him or Doom or somebody else, because I don't think that I think they're going to drop a nugget about it being Mephisto, but I don't think that who ends up being the big bad guy in this is not going to be Mephisto. He's going to be still working from behind the scene, because I think that what they're wanting to do is similar to, and we talked about it before too, the MCU, where each movie kind of had their overarching bad guy, but it all tied into Thanos at the end. Whereas this, I think, is setting up wave, I don't know which wave this is, 17 of the MCU or whatever, phase 16. But I think this next phase of Marvel is all being set up with the end of this series.
Well, yeah, partially, and it may even be bigger than that. We may be getting Mephisto as an ensemble of villains. Like, maybe it's not just Mephisto is the thing. And what I mean by Agatha not being, as far as her not being a villain, I mean, like, maybe she is working for him. Absolutely. That may be a thing, but she may have more complex motivations, because in the comics, her and Wanda do wind up eventually being friends. So I could see maybe this being resolved in a way that doesn't leave them at odds with each other permanently, and perhaps seeing a more sympathetic side to this character.
Yeah, you're right. They were friends, which is one of the reasons I think we didn't think that she was going to start as a villain. But she clearly she's doing something. She's got some kind of goal, and it all seems to stem. We'll just go with what they've shown us. And when Wanda comes down into her lair, first of all, where are the twins? Billy and Tommy have disappeared. They went to hang out with Agnes. They're nowhere to be seen. She goes down into the secret layer. I love the set design. The layer was really awesome. Reminded me a lot of what we saw in the Doctor Strange film. And then we see a book. What is this book? Now, we know books have a lot of power and a lot of meaning in the MCU. We get that in the Doctor Strange film. That's what, I can't remember the disciple of Dormammu's name is, but that character's whole goal is to get this book because he needs it because of the knowledge. We know books have a lot of power. They're heavily guarded. She has a book. It has a prominent position on this table. Clearly, the camera pans over to it. It's important for some reason. What is this book? There's a lot of theories. Larry, you said there are some major theories out there right now about the book.
Well, yeah, like one major theory is that it's the Necronomicon, and perhaps this is part of some ritual that she's summoning something. And there are other theories, like there's other, like you said, big Marvel books that this could be. Either way, this book may also be part of a lead-in for characters like Doctor Strange or his council of sorcerers to show up, and it may have a lot of significance, or it might be like we were joking about earlier, where Wanda thinks it has significance, and she winds up destroying the book and just winds up destroying a very old book that Agatha treasures instead of destroying the MacGuffin.
I love what Spencer said earlier. He's like, it's just War and Peace.
It was the first episode of The Notebook or something, like the first pressing of.
Like, and Agatha just loses it there. Ralph gave me that for our anniversary.
But yeah, any thoughts on the book, Spencer?
Oh, what'd you say?
Any thoughts on the book?
I don't. I mean, what Larry said with the importance of the different kinds of books, that has always played a role in the MCU and in Marvel itself. But I don't have any specific theory as to which specific book it is. But maybe her end game is to help bring Vision back. So there's a lot of things that she could do to do that. But I don't know if that book has something to do with that or not.
Well,
that's an interesting thought. Larry, do you think Agatha and we know Hayward now wants Vision. Vision's his powerful weapon. We don't know the details, but we know he wants Vision. That's his point now. We know that Wanda wants Vision because she loves him. She's in love with him. Do you think that Vision has anything to do with Agatha's plan?
Well, I don't think Vision does, per se. I think Wanda does in manipulating Wanda's powers, because we've seen that Wanda can pull from, she's seemingly pulling from other timelines and whatnot, with Pietro thing, possibly. We got the whole Nexus commercial, which I'm sure you wanted to go in later, which shows that she may have something to do with the Nexus between worlds, which is a thing in the comic book that has to do with the multiverse, thus leading into the multiverse of madness. So I feel like she somehow wants to exploit Wanda's connection to the multiverse or her place in it in order to gain something. I mean, because we're not sure what her motivation is yet, but she wants to exploit that for some reason. And maybe it's the sort of thing where Wanda just helps her out willingly, and that's what starts the friendship. And she may use Vision as a tool to get to Wanda, but I think Wanda is the goal here.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think that was her game plan. I'm just referring to the book and the book itself, because I think her getting to Wanda through Vision would be, a way to do that. So like, she was like, hey, I could save Vision, but I'm going to need this from you. So that's the only correlation I was drawing. I don't think that Vision was her target. I think that it was 100% Wanda. I'm just saying that the book could have something to do with that instead.
Right. Yeah, and given the nature of the weirdness in this series, there's still the possibility also that she is potentially a friend of Wanda's, because Wanda's mind is disjointed, and Wanda rejects anything that doesn't fit into the narrative and the reality that she's built. So she may be corrupting it as a means of trying to save them in a way. If she isn't like the antagonist in this series.
I'll say one little complaint I have about the ending sequence with her going into the lair and us seeing the book and all the reveal was at this point more than any other in the series. And I brought this up in past episodes, but I mean this even more now. Now that we know the truth, where the hell is Doctor Strange? Because how is all this going on and he's not aware of it? He's the protector of this realm. He's, the sorcerer supreme. He doesn't know what's going on. He has no clue. He's not investigating. He's not sending people. Now, maybe he is. Maybe there are things happening off camera we don't know about, and they'll reveal it later. Maybe he's in prison somewhere. There's a lot of possibilities to what's happening, but more now than ever, they've got to mention Doctor Strange. He's got to have some kind of connection to this story. Yes, we know the film, it'll connect to its film, but I would say at this point they're going to have to explain why he doesn't know about this more than anything.
Well, I think when we talk about the multiverse of madness timeline, remember when they showed how he lived eons and eons of different timelines. He even was envisioning different ways for Thanos to die. Like, there's a lot of things where this could be taking place in one of those like gaps, maybe, or not even necessarily just that. It could be he may not be able to get in just yet. He may be still trying to figure out how to get into the little portal vortex thing. He may just not be able to get in. And all this time he could have been trying. Like, I don't know 100%. But, this is my gripe with the MCU this whole time, is just like with Captain Marvel. Like, why was she never around? Well, that seems to be my biggest gripe through the MCU as a whole. But this may be easily explained. I just do think that we need that explanation.
Well, yeah, and with the Captain Marvel one, I think we got our explanation in that she doesn't care about Earth for some reason. Like, but with Doctor Strange, there are a few ways they can explain this. Like, for one, with Agatha being seemingly an older and more powerful sorceress than not necessarily even Strange, but then the Wanda, she could have easily shielded what's going on to where it's not. Something that he can observe magically, or he doesn't see it as an anomaly due to her interference. Maybe, it could be the sort of thing where they're gonna do a similar thing to Captain Marvel, where it's like, his main concern are those global threats or those universal threats, and that's when Strange steps in. There's a number of ways they can play this, and if my second theory about what Agatha's possibly doing, it could be because he thinks, well, Agatha's there, it's handled. If it's the sort of thing where her corrupting this pocket reality is her trying to help out Wanda to some degree, then that could just be because the situation is handled. Agatha's on it, and it'll be taken care of.
I agree that they're definitely. I agree with all those possibilities. There's definitely ways to answer. I was saying they have to address it. They can't not address it at this point.
Oh yeah, they gotta.
Yeah, but yeah, any of those would work for me. Any explanation, even if it's some half-ass thing, like, oh, he was fucking off-world, I'll take it. But they're gonna have to do it because it's not just him. He has a team. He has other people that are active and that are doing things, other wizards. So
well yeah, exactly. And we mentioned that in past episodes, and so it has to be one of these explanations, or Wanda has to mention it during this movie because they're gonna be in a movie together, for one, and he has to just basically show her, it's like, oh, you see this anomaly over here and this one here and this one here, am I supposed to personally show up for all of this, like we were dealing with other things? It'll have to be explained somehow.
Well, and like you said, he's got a group of wizards, so where the fuck is Dumbledore and Gandalf and Harry and
yeah, where are the other guys?
Where's Sauron?
where's the network of Avengers that we established in the last movie?
Hawkeye can't do shit.
Where's Hawkeye?
That'd be
Oh.
great if he showed up in his Ronin costume, and he's just like, what do you guys want me to do? I can't do shit about this.
Well, we get a new superhero officially in this episode. You know, we've gotten Wiccan and Speed in previous episodes, sort of establishing that Billy and Tommy now have powers, and you know they're going to be a force at some point in the future. Monica Rambeau is now transformed. It was a really cool sequence. I thought it was one of the coolest sort of getting your powers moments I've seen done ever. To be completely honest, she breaks her way through. First of all, she tries to drive that stupid ass tank thing in there, which I was like, I don't think that's going to work. It doesn't. She walks through. We've already knows that her DNA and everything's being rewritten because she's been in the hex so many times. Now she pushes through, and we see her sort of shatter. Now everybody's pointing out, like Larry, you said, the whole idea of the Nexus, multiple dimensions. There's a lot going on there, but the point is, when she gets through, now she has powers. Now, how powerful is she? Not sure yet, but I'm going to wager pretty damn powerful.
Well, my part about this whole sequence was they did it in like a 3-minute sequence in a TV show. So now if they reintroduce this character, or she becomes, has her own movie, or whatever the case may be, or she has a team up movie with Captain Marvel, we don't need to establish what her powers are. We don't
exactly.
Like they did it in a very short period of time, and now like maybe next episode she tries to go toe to toe with Wanda or Agatha, and you find out what she's capable of. So in a very short period of time, you establish something that is a backstory that flows with the kind of the framework of the show, without having a whole standalone movie that goes into like the first half is an origin story. We've already done it.
You established her relationship with her mother, her losing her mother with the blip, her being a member of S.W.O.R.D, her ambition, her relationship with the heroes, and then her transition to getting her powers. You're 100% right, Spencer. We've done her origin film within WandaVision. She doesn't need one now. Now she can go off. You can use her for whatever event, other films, get her own movie, whatever. It's been done, and I hope, and I'm sure Kevin Feige is, did this on purpose, and will be doing this more, getting rid of the idea of having to do an origin film. Just weave in these origins in the shows. I think it works perfectly.
That is a perfect way too to bring in existing characters. So we have the X-Men, who have had 5 different reboots. You have 4 who have been around. Jesus, they've got. There's only been 2 movies that were the same people. Fantastic Four has done several different reboots also. So now you could just tie these characters in to one of these shows, and it would be great to get rid of. Oh, excuse me. You can kind of do their version of the origin without having to rehash a whole origin movie. This is a great format for that, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. You can get a lot of stuff out of the way, because there's certain characters that, while they would be cool as being part of an Avengers team, or it'd be great to see them in an event, you don't necessarily want to go through their origins. And this is a good way to take care of that. These smaller events, these smaller series. Absolutely. Some of the bigger ones, maybe you want to do it. Maybe but this is a good way to make those things either. To have it done with, or to avoid, having to go like, how do we go about this in a short and sweet way that, because I don't want them to just shoot an engine and then they have powers or anything like that. Like we mentioned earlier, it's a good way to do an origin without making it cheap.
Yes. And I think we've gotten to a point where we're just tired of origin movies.
Yeah.
Because what you end up having to do is you have to, you make an hour and a half, 2-hour film, it takes a couple years to make it. You build up the anticipation. We go see the movie. Okay, we establish the hero, and then we got to wait another 2 to 3 years before we get the sequel. And that's what we really want, is that sequel. And so you end up with this sort of 5-6 year timeline where you're not doing much with that character. And that's the problem with the origin films at this point. We're ready to go. We know who these characters are. And if we don't, we're smart enough to be able to get online, look it up, and get their backgrounds.
Well,
Yeah,
So,
Jesus, how many Spider-Man movies has there been at this point? And Spider-Man is one of those characters that even if you don't know shit about comics, you're pretty aware of how Spider-Man got his powers. You
right.
know, Spider-Man has a thing for Mary Jane. Like there's there's a couple tropes that they don't even need to cover, and they can just go right into a movie. So, and now with the Multiverse of Madness, they're gonna, have several different things, and I think that they could possibly spin off one of those characters into a TV show kind of deal. So you have like multiple Spider-Mans, like one has a TV show and maybe one is a cinematic one. Uh, but I think that by doing it this way, I hope that they're able to bring back characters like the Netflix Matt Murdock, an amazing Daredevil, the Netflix Frank Castle, who did a great job. As much as I didn't like Jessica Jones, David Tennant did an amazing Purple Man. So there's certain characters that I think that they can pull from and kind of just plug them in without having to do full blown origin stories again.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And well, think about the sort of mess without doing this kind of thing. Think about the sort of mess that a Young Avengers movie would be if they tried to do all those origins. You have to touch on so much with that team. But if you have these shows sort of segueing some of those characters, it makes it a lot easier to pull off. And it definitely seems like that's what they're going for. That's something that we're going to get, not too far from now.
Well, look at it financially too. If say you invest in like Ant-Man, which ended up being successful, it wasn't a huge blockbuster by any means as far as Disney blockbusters go, but it made money, it did well. But think of some of these new Avengers. Think of like the pandemic kind of stuff where it's the theaters aren't helping them make as much money. So now it's really risky to put all your to do a Wiccan movie to establish his origin. That would be a huge risk to start the Young Avengers. But now, like you said, Larry, if you're incorporating these characters slowly into shows and stuff, you could write them into the next phase and not have to do an origin film. Just basically they meet up at the beginning to take out whatever the bad guy is, and now they're together.
Well, yeah, because that becomes a big problem. Like, even if you're doing it all in one film, it's like, okay, so what is the entire first half of the movie explaining who these characters are, explaining how these kids got their powers, explaining how they're connected, whether they go to the same school or whatever. You can cut down on some of that this way because and just get to the meat of what the film is supposed to be.
School of Hard Knocks, man.
Larry, you mentioned the Nexus. We get another one of these commercials. It was sort of funny. It was one of those like depression pills. Was the thing, but they mentioned the Nexus, and Nexus is a big deal because now we're digging into that very bizarro Marvel stuff. The idea of alternate realities and the pathway to them, and then even the idea of Nexus beings, which basically is someone who can manipulate reality and has I would compare. I don't know how to like the Speed Force.
Well, yeah,
and a Flash.
It's also kind of like we saw that we have a different version of Pietro who legitimately, because the X-Men universe may exist, that may be Pietro, but that may not be the Pietro of her world,
Exactly.
Whereas Wanda would be the same across all universes. So no matter what changes, it's part of the reason why she seems relatively unaffected, that she just kind of rolls with it.
And the fact that they even said Nexus, the fact that they're willing to make these references lets us know that they're going all in on this multiverse stuff. And the idea of all the leaks with the Spider-Man movie, we already know this to be true because they're essentially bringing every character that's ever been in any Spider-Man movie into it. So they're doing it, and this was just another nod to it. These commercials have all been really fun. It's been fun to see the internet sort of debate and question what every little detail of them means. And this was another one that I thought was
On,
also the same.
on a Spider-Man note, I really hope that Tobey Maguire comes in as Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man 3 with his haircut and everything.
Sort of the emo, semi-evil
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I like
Doing
hope.
this stupid little dance and everything. Yeah.
Yes, I really hope that's how he shows up.
You might.
That'd be so good.
I enjoyed the Darcy Vision stuff this week. It was fun. It was comical, and it served 2 points: A, some comedy, and then B, him learning the truth. There was a lot of scenes where he's basically being told what happened with Thanos, what happened with his death, how he was created. We get mentions of Jarvis, Ultron. It was cool. It was all sort of reminding the audience to, hey, remember this was his journey. This is who he is. What'd you guys think of those sequences? And the Modern Family spin was
That
fun.
the Modern Family stuff was how it was filmed. We said that a couple weeks ago when we saw all the little intro things. That's what I thought they were going for with this, was the Modern Family essentially. But I love the fact that Ultron references and all that stuff, because we had mentioned that perhaps Ultron comes back. There, so for them to mention his journey so far may be an indication as to how he's going to survive and come back post Wanda finally dropping the reality veil.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to mention that, in fact, because that was one theory we had a while ago, that Ultron's potentially a villain in this, or that this segues to Ultron's resurrection, because they mentioned that his consciousness is composed of like partially of Ultron, and what with Hayward studying the Vision, trying to weaponize him, we did mention that there's a possibility that what he may accidentally do, because of the nature of who Vision is bring back Ultron. And and this goes for what I think our real big bad might be, to some degree, that once we get the sort of collaborative movie like what we got within Endgame, it may not just be like a Mephisto or Galactus and what have you. It may be a Masters of Evil, and we're getting like a Mephisto, an Ultron, a Baron Zemo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we definitely know we're getting Baron Zemo, and he's always someone who's 2 and 3 steps ahead of everyone else, and is always plotting long term. And to bring a character like that back, to me, leads to believe that yes, there's something big around the corner, and yeah, something like a Masters of Evil or something definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of potential to set this up.
What
It
about
really is.
Skeletor? Is he going to be in it?
We are getting a He-Man animated series soon. I'm looking forward to that.
I would say it could be, if Disney buys that too.
Yeah, shit. Actually, yeah.
As long as it's not by the same animators that are doing the new Aquaman.
Yeah, I saw that shit. Episode length. I want to talk about this briefly, just because it's been in the news. There's a lot of discussions, debates, and it's relevant to the show. So there's only 2 episodes left, episode 8 and episode 9. But there's a lot of debate and questions as to how long those episodes are, or if even they're the only 2 left. We were told up front by I think Feige and Marvel how long the series was going to be, and people have been sort of counting down that timer. Well, they've come to the conclusion that there should be like 2 to 3 hours left, yet there's only 2 episodes left. There was supposedly Feige had said, and this was reported on major publications across the board, that their last 3 episodes were going to be an hour apiece. Well, episode 7 was part of the last 3 episodes. It was not an hour. It was like 34, 35 minutes. So, what is going on? How long are these next 2 episodes? Now, some of the theories are that each episode might be an hour and a half apiece. Another theory is that the next episode will be standard 30 minutes, and that the final episode, episode 9, might be like a, 2.5 hour film. The third theory is, and this was reported by CBR, I believe, recently, um, that there's a secret 10th episode. And that in fact there is going to be a really long episode at the end, almost like a film, and that they're trying to keep it a secret because it's sort of a bridge between this show and the Multiverse of Madness movie. Who knows? I mean, it's all speculation at this point. So the question more so would be, what would you prefer of all of these?
What do I prefer, or what do I think it is?
Both.
Well,
But like I said, it's all. I mean,
well, at this point, unless it's basically like I don't think it's going to be a film or even a film linked thing. And the only reason I say that is because I don't remember the name of the movie that's getting ready to come out on Disney, the Royo or whatever the animated film that's getting ready to come out.
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yes. Okay, so now think of that. This thing that I have no context about, like Mulan was a remake, and I know that there's a lot of controversy with Mulan, but people wanted to see it. This one is a brand new product, brand new everything. I don't know that people are going to pay $30 for the early access. If they were able to basically spin off this last episode as a movie, they could charge $30 because people are like, well, I want to know what the fuck happens. So that's why I don't think that it's a movie link thing. I think that we're just going to get a 10th episode. But I think the reason that it hasn't been revealed yet also is I look on IMDb religiously. Me and Brian, watching a movie last night, and I'm like looking shit up, and I'm like, oh, this is this person. They were in these movies, and we were watching Warrior, which is on HBO Max right now. It was a Cinemax show, but Brian's like, hey, I recognize that guy, and because I had looked it up prior, like I knew what he was in, but there is no 10th episode. So if they keep it a secret, it's ways to not give credit to whoever they have playing Reed Richards, if that's who it is, or whoever the actor is or actress, or whoever that's playing Mephisto. Or there's a way to keep a secret, and that way they just don't announce who's in it. But I think that it's just going to be an extra episode, is what I'm thinking it's going to be.
Yeah, we might get like an extra episode out of this, if anything. You got to agree with Spencer on that, but I don't know if we'd get like 1 hour and 30-minute episode towards the end. Like we might get the last 2 episodes, maybe an hour long, but and we could get a surprise one, but I don't think they'd give us 1 hour and 30-minute chunk, and I kind of hope not, because I don't know if I got an hour and 30 minutes in my day. It's just like, but yeah, like I kind of agree with Spencer on this one. Like we may have a secret episode, we may have 2 more just hour-long episodes, and some of that stuff that they were talking about maybe just like cut content that they decided, oh, this is stupid, we shouldn't include Wonder Man, or there's a lot of convoluted stuff that happens in this arc that maybe doesn't work well for film, which we know there is, because the whole baby hands thing, and if you know this arc, you know what I mean. Like, but yeah, it's like they may have filmed something, realized that it was dumb or looked dumb, and just decided to cut some of the content.
Yeah, all possible. Yeah, I just there's so much speculation, and I literally there's 3 prominent YouTubers that I frequent, and all 3 have a different theory. and and all 3 of them are usually pretty right about things. So I'm like, well, all 3 of you can't be right about this. So it is one of those things where there's a lot of discussion and debate, and there's supposed insider thoughts on this and that, but nobody has a definitive answer. All they know is there's only supposed to be officially 2 episodes left, but there's supposed to be approximately 3 hours of content that supposedly is coming out. So,
but think of what you just said with the new streaming wars, and we talked about it last night. The fact that Netflix is talking about with their prominent series going to a weekly release instead of a drop all at once kind of thing. All of the things that we're talking about right now is all speculative. We have no idea what Disney's going to do, but the fact that we're all talking about it helps them. And I think that
Oh, absolutely.
but that's what I'm saying. So like I don't know that it matters what they're doing. What they're doing is brilliant because it's keeping them in everybody's mind and it's keeping them on the forefront of different websites, YouTubers, podcasts, and everything. So it's helping their brand immensely. And I think that that's probably more their goal than anything else.
Well, yeah, and it piques your curiosity too, because you think to yourself, like, man, is this show good enough, or are there enough twists that they need to keep an entire episode secret? Do I need to be tuning into this? It takes your brain there.
Yeah, they've definitively made the case, and there are rumors that Netflix is going to go to a weekly schedule as opposed to dropping all at once. Nothing confirmed, internet rumors, but I think the last several months have proven that that is the better model in terms of getting the word out about your show and having it longevity. Because here's the reality: Disney is basically going to control Fridays for ever.
The new TGI Fridays.
You know what? They're going to be dropping these shows every single Friday, and it's going to be a big deal. People are going to be discussing and debating like we're doing here. And if Netflix drops, say, Stranger Things on a Friday, well, you'll talk about it that Friday. But by the time you get to the next Friday, it'll be whatever the next episode of whatever Loki or whatever show is out. And that's what you're going to be talking about on the internet. And all of a sudden, Stranger Things becomes a distant memory. So if I'm Netflix and the rumors are true, I would definitely, for the main flagship shows, embrace the weekly model. You almost have a choice at this point. And yeah, that's just where we're at, and the fact that we are in the middle of streaming wars, literally, where these companies are all wanting your money, and now you're subscribed to 10 fucking services, paying as much if not more than you were for cable. It's like, you got us. But it's going to get to a point where people are going to start making those choices. You know what? I'm not going to get this network. I'm not going to get that network. And right now, the race is to become the one that they refuse to give up. So Disney is doing everything in their power. Netflix needs to as well, to say, don't drop our service. We're the ones you want. And shows like WandaVision, I think, are making the case for Disney to say, hey, you want us because we're going to provide this content every single week going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's we just talked about it. It's how thank God it's Friday, or thank goodness. I don't know what TGIF, what the hit stood for in the 90s, but think of all those network shows that was the network you tuned in on Friday. Now, regardless of when this is released, Disney, like you said, owns Fridays now, so they will always have stuff. So is Netflix going to launch theirs on a Saturday, or because you want to launch it on a weekend, because then people have all weekend to watch it, and then they talk about it all the following week at work or with their friends, and then the next week comes out and now you're watching it again. I think that model works great for no matter who it is that's streaming, but I think that it is, like you said, their flagship shows. I don't know why that's not a model. I do love binging shows. Like, I've been binging Snowfall. We're trying to catch up, and I like doing that. But there's also that, depending on the type of show, when it ends on a cliffhanger, it has some anticipation for the following week. That's a good thing. And I'm looking forward for the next show, as opposed to basically just hit play next. It kind of diminishes some of that.
Yeah. The binge model worked great until competition came in. now it doesn't make sense in terms of staying in the public's consciousness. So that's where we're at. Last thing I really have, and then if there's anything I missed and you guys want to talk about, the end credit scene. It's not significant, but everyone's debating whether or not Quicksilver is, what is he? Is he under, clearly he's being controlled to some degree by Agatha Harkness, because we see the scene where in her credits, which is great, her little theme song, where she's like sitting having the picnic and controlling him. So is that just showing that she's the one who brought him there? Is she actually controlling him? Who is he? Is he from the Fox verse? Is he an evil character that we don't? Is he a nightmare, or one of these other things that people have theories about? What are your guys' thoughts on that? We see him come up on Monica Rambeau, so the assumption is he's going to try and capture her or something. Maybe. What do you
I
guys think?
I just thought the way he looked and acted and everything, it made me laugh because it was a very 2000s, early 2000s like dress, the beanie with it like happening on his head, and the verbiage he used. It was just funny to me. But him being there, I don't know. I don't. It showed that Agatha was manipulating him, but I don't know if she conjured him or if he showed up and was trying to, warn Wanda of something, and then she took over. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, like as far as that goes, or if there's the theory that maybe Mephisto screwing with her. There's a lot of theories that are out there, but I'm not entirely sure which one is the right one yet. I like the fact that there's multiple because it makes me want to tune in to see what it is.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Every single theory we have in regards to Pietro is still a possibility. It's the thing, at this point. So, that's up in the air. And it definitely seems like we're finding out next episode. But I get the feeling that he's not 100% under control. That he's maybe been manipulated by her a bit, but he may actually be Pietro, because I feel like he may have attacked Monica right away if he was working with her.
We needed to get the fun little one-liner in.
Great.
How cool is it that the outfit she's wearing is the same scheme as one of her superhero costumes? Everyone was pointing that out, that the costuming was very intent.
Yeah, and they made it make sense because it's like what remained of her astronaut uniform after, pulling herself back together, stepping back into the hex. So it makes sense. Very cool way to do it. And also a cool way to if that is going to be your outfit, from here forward, I believe she just sort of changes it on the just sort of on the cellular level, also not cellular, but molecular level also. So that'd be a good way to explain it. It's like, it's went through the hex with her. It's made of those BS unstable molecules that we mention all the time in Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, good episode. I mean, this show is becoming a big deal, and like everyone's talking about it. Some people, I mean, they're talking about the show, but my God, I try to be a little careful with my thumbnails, and even if I'm sort of giving something away, it's very hidden. Like you wouldn't just know it unless you've seen the episode. But some people don't give a shit, man. I saw thumbnails for this show. At this point, I guess if the show airs at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., all bets are off for thumbnails, because I saw some thumbnails that were just straight up that in credit scene. I'm like, why the hell would you put that in the thumbnail? But
whatever. There were a few where I was like, man, if I didn't watch this show before I saw this, I'd have been real angry about that.
But yeah, I try. Sometimes I allude to things in the thumbnail, but it's I try to be a little cryptic. But apparently, yeah, it's all bets off with this.
Well, yeah, it's almost like they don't get that you don't have to be looking for that content specifically to see it. You just have to be subscribed. And honestly, that makes me unsubscribe from a lot of channels because.
And if you're into those kinds of channels or videos, you're going to get recommended, especially on Fridays and Saturdays. They're going to bombard you with that in your search because they know you're into that kind of content. And all of a sudden, they're like, well, this and that. Because I wasn't even looking for it. And I saw a bunch of spoilers. Now, I had already seen the episode. I watched it first thing, so it didn't spoil me. But it was one of those things where before I made my thumbnail, I was like, well, damn. Because I was trying to think, what could my thumbnail be? Because I don't want to spoil anything. And I was like, well, apparently no one gives a shit. and it doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want.
Well, we've mentioned it before. There's a content creator who I'm not going to name that I think we both unsubscribed.
He's the worst
because
he's the worst offender.
He does great content. He makes amazing content. However, if you haven't seen whatever show it is that he's watched yet, he's going to cram as many spoilers into that thumbnail as humanly possible.
He does really great content. Matter of fact, I watched one of his videos a week ago, and it was really well done. But yes, his thumbnails are just spoilers.
I don't even watch the videos because he may have a thumbnail for something I haven't seen yet, and I don't want to risk it. That YouTube recommends something to me, and I get the next episode of this show or some other show spoiled, so I don't even watch.
Yeah. Anything else regarding WandaVision episode 7?
I don't think so. We talked about all of it. I loved the opening, loved the closing, loved the theme songs, loved all the reveals. It was just a really fun, revealing episode. I really liked it.
Yeah, agreed. And it was a episode that was so good that it really made me like the previous episodes more. Even just the way that they went about the reveal, and just going back into those past episodes and seeding things. It really well done.
Yeah, agreed. Loved it. So yeah, appreciate everyone listening. We did a movie review. Check it out. I Care a Lot. So if you're contemplating, well, actually, you need to watch the movie because it's full spoilers. But if you have no intention of ever watching the movie and you just want to hear what we have to say, you can also check out that video. Thanks for listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.